platform is equivalent to 6.5 football fields. It stands 16 stories tall, and it connects over 7,000 feet to the seafloor. And that oil rig is the
Appomattox, the largest oil rig in the Gulf.
Thanks to Captain John Fagen of Gulf Offshore Charters, I get my first opportunity in 2 years to head back to Appomattox, where we fish for 24 hours using fishing methods that I've never seen before, and we fill every fish box on the boat.
Can't even see all the tuna that are in there.
And we end the trip with a catch and cook at my favorite restaurant on Pensacola Beach. Join us on this new adventure as we fish next to the biggest oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We are out here 130 miles. Right in front of me is the largest oil rig in the Gulf, Appomattox. Today we're gonna do 24 hours tuna fishing. The overall goal for me is gonna be to catch my first keeper yellowfin tuna on the popper. Hopeful that I can get my first one. If not, we're gonna chunk, jig, live bait, and just hoping to fill the box. So I'm gonna get at it.
Once we knew where the tuna were, our first process of targeting the tuna was going to be with using live bait. Before we left today, Griffin threw the cast net and filled up the live well with 500 live baits. In order to get the tuna fired off, you either use a bucket or this pink baseball bat looking thing. Then you throw your hooked up live bait over and throttle forward. And the whole point of this is to pull the tuna up to the surface. In order for this to be effective, the tuna have to be in the upper levels of the water column, meaning they have to be 200 feet from the surface. If they're any deeper, this won't work. And this was the first trip that I've been on this year where the live baiting did not work because of how deep the tuna were sitting in the water column. With the guys changing up their strategy of catching them on live baits, they switched over to chunking, while I continued to throw the popper from the bow of the boat. But with the tuna sitting so deep in the water column that we couldn't catch them with live baits, the odds of me catching one with a popper were about 0%. But I didn't care. I was determined to finally catch a tuna on a popper with the hopes that eventually a tuna would come up to the surface. I knew I was playing with fire by throwing my popper as close to the oil rig as I was, because barracuda always hang tight to these platforms. And if you throw too close, you're gonna hook one, just like I did here.
I don't think it's a tuna.
I got lucky on this one, because barracuda have needle-sharp teeth, and he could have easily cut my line and I would have lost my popper. If you find yourself in this situation, don't do this. You already know that barracuda have needle-sharp teeth, but the popper that I've been throwing also has 2 sets of treble hooks. Don't attempt to de-hook it with just your hands. You could easily get one of these treble hooks stuck in your hand or need stitches from this barracuda's teeth. Thankfully, nothing happened. But when you're 130 miles offshore, an injury like that, or anything worse, could be a serious problem. Turn your brain on, unlike me, and use a de-hooker.
We have a set of pliers.
While I was dealing with the barracuda, Griffin hooked up to the first tuna of the day. It was kind of a slow start for us, but as soon as we got that first fish, the bite really turned on. I had been waiting all afternoon for the tuna to finally come to the surface.
Oh, they are huge. Wow. I was just about to say I haven't seen one tuna pop all day.
But it was like seeing fool's gold, because they came up for 4 seconds and then they were gone. But because they came up to the surface, I just continued to cast, hoping that that was not going to be the last time I would see them. And while I was doing this, Griffin hooked up to a giant tuna while chunking.
How big you think?
Oh, see that?
I did. What was that?
He just did a massive head shake. He's a little bigger than 60. He's hungry. All right, Victor, I think one, maybe two more circles, all right? Maybe one, just be ready.
I didn't like that.
Another gas.
This wasn't the largest tuna I've ever seen, but it was the biggest one I've seen this year. Look at it. It's so big Griffin can't even lift it up.
I'll be running circles around you sooner than you know. A little love Santa and I'm out at you.
As the sun went down, I set aside my popping rod for the rest of the night. While Griffin and Victor continued to chunk, I grabbed my slow pitch jig setup, got my glow-in-the-dark jig all fired up, and started jigging. This slow pitch jig setup, it's so fun, but if I had this jig on a normal spinning reel, I'd be exhausted after 2 fish, but for whatever reason, I could do this all night. And I did.
I'm on. I got it. 1 for 1.
Pretty cool how the glow-in-the-dark jig works. It seems like immediately after I get it lit up, fish on.
I'm on. Three for 3. 3 drops, 3 fish. The absolute worst part is the amount these pricks bleed.
That or the big one. Oh, Johnny boy! Hell. Well, you're like batting 1,000 with this jig, aren't you?
5 for 5. 5 drops, 5 blackfin.
I loaded up the fish box with blackfin. And while I was doing that, Victor hooked himself his first big tuna of the trip.
That's a big one. That's way bigger than Griffin's.
Yeah. You think he's that?
I'm very aware that some people don't want to be on camera, so I'm never going to stick the camera on someone's face. But it is difficult at night, and I wasn't sure if putting the light on the fish would be a problem to spook it.
Yeah, that light helps actually.
But it was actually useful in this case because we were able to see where it was in the water. And this turned out to be a giant for Victor.
Oh, nice.
Wind me up, put me down, stop me up and watch me go. I'll be running circles around.
There's that shoulder.
A little love Santa and I'm out at you. Just kicking this gal up the avenue. But I'm alright.
After we got Victor's giant tuna put on ice, I went back to my jig.
Oh boy. This one's for sure bigger. Oh, he just broke me. Yeah.
That jig was on fire. I was 6 for 6 and about to be 7 for 7, and then it snapped. After losing my lucky glow-in-the-dark jig, I went over and did some chunking. This was only the second time I've ever done chunking before, and this was all Captain John's guidance. How you want to start is you want to hide the hook within the bait.
I put the clicker on.
Yeah, leave it on. And put the drag all the way back. Go ahead.
and I'm just pulling this line out so there's no tension. The line is in free spool, and as soon as you feel a fish come by, that's when you push the drag up.
And if I get a bite, then I just push this up.
When you feel it, let it go out of your fingers, okay? When you feel it rip,
Okay.
let it go and reach up there and hit that and just drop it.
He's just small.
Yeah, he hit it like he was something, didn't he?
Yeah.
He hit it like he was really something. Nice blackfin. Yep. Pretty cool.
The blackfin king.
Is it? Yeah, there you go. Have it.
And we used the blackfin tuna and the barracuda that I had previously caught for chunk bait.
Show you. Yep, perfect.
I'm normally against live baiting or chunking for tuna because I like hands-on, like throwing a popper, jigging up a jig, but I enjoyed this, and there's definitely an art to it. And as I'm letting the line out, John's throwing chunks in. And thanks to Captain John's guidance, I caught my first yellowfin tuna chunking.
That might be a real one. You had a lot of line out when he did, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
He's still like 150 foot away. I got color. It's definitely a yellow. Just watch that rod too. That's not one of those. Yes, sir. Go ahead and protect all that line. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yes,
My
sir.
first yellow chunking.
This was by far the most unique way to target yellowfin tuna, by catching flying fish.
I love catching these things, man.
Also, if you're going to do this, I highly recommend that you wear khakis and sandals when leaning over the boat in the middle of the night.
I'll give it to you. You were close.
Oh my god. Keep bumping back a little.
Who are you gonna get? Left or right? Oh. Left is a little deep. Oh, get him. Oh, let's go.
Open level. Level. Steady level.
What is it?
2 for 2, boys. John, I'm gonna put them out on this rod.
Are we gonna hook up to a Magnum with those things?
Dude, if they come up top with a flyer out, dude, it's on them.
After Griffin caught 2 flying fish in the net, he rigged it up and put it out.
Paul, look how hard he's kicking, dude. Straight down. Straight down. Under.
You're gonna give this to me? Man, you gotta reel this.
Griffin tried to pass this off to me, but for someone that just hung himself over the boat in khakis and sandals to catch this, I couldn't take the rod from him.
Move that can, John.
After taking a tumble, I accidentally woke Aiden up,
Sorry, I tripped over you.
and I felt guilty for waking him up, but this turned into a double hookup. 2 yellowfin tuna on 2 flying fish in under 2 minutes. And since I woke Aiden up, I let him reel in the other one. These weren't giant yellowfin tuna, but this was the fastest we caught any of them on, and they were both caught on flying fish.
Dude, I did this last time when you cleaned. Yeah, we gotta put more ice in there.
With first light approaching, I had stayed up with anticipation that I was going to see yellowfin tuna busting the surface. Without having any tuna hitting the surface, I knew my odds were slim. And I just kept casting, and I just kept casting. While Captain John and the others demonstrated their patience. They didn't say a word, but I knew they had all decided to just let me keep on trying. because they knew how bad I wanted to catch one on a popper. That's a sign of a great captain and some great guys. A captain that knows what you want and wants you to have it. But unfortunately, it just wasn't today. I must have cast it 1,000 times during this trip, and out of the entire 24 hours we were out here, they only came up for 4 seconds. I can't tell you how much I appreciate John giving me the best opportunity to do this. The goal was getting one on a popper, but also filling the fish boxes. And we did that. I thought the trip was over. We were on our bean bags, and I thought we were heading in after an already amazing trip. But after an hour boat ride, Captain John stopped, pulled out all the electric reels, and we did some deep water grouper fishing, where we topped off every single fish box on this boat. When I think of electric reels, I think of lazy, fancy, and the most efficient way to catch fish. And I normally wouldn't do it, because it feels like cheating to me. But in this case, after being up for 24 hours, going for over 1,000 casts on the popping rod, there's nothing more enjoyable than sitting down, pressing a button, and watching your fish come up from 800 feet. This was my first yellow edge grouper, and I caught a few more new species on this as well. And the bait that we were using for this was the blackfin tuna that I had caught from the jigs. And we were just cutting them up into cubes, just like when we were using them for chunk bait. And then using a 6-hook rig and dropping it down 800 feet.
A little deep dropping with the tuna that I caught.
Oh, Big John got him on!
Whoa, that's a nice one. Can't even see all the tuna that are in there. Holy crap.
Bigger than mine.
This was another new species for me, a long-tail sea bass. And it's by far one of the coolest looking fish I've ever caught.
Pretty fish, though.
It is.
And the last new species was a scorpion fish, which looked very similar to the long-tail sea bass, which I also learned do not touch the scorpion fish.
I got stuck by one.
Seen the skyline of New York City, fireflies in Tennessee. Sipped a little shine from a paper sack that'll knock the horns off a Cadillac. I must have sat on a dozen islands, watched the sun sink into the sea. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt and hat, but my favorite place to be is here and now. Nowhere else in this world tonight. You and me, ain't it good to be alive? Ain't no better place, ain't no better time than here and now. Everybody's waiting, but they're waiting on what? Better get to living, cause all we got is here and now.
This is my favorite restaurant, the Sandbar Bar and Grill.
The first time with the Gulf of Mexico, thought I found a true love in Malibu, but that water was a little too cold.
For catch and cook, it's only $13.95. So as long as you bring in 1.5 pounds or less of fish, you get everything that's on this table, plus 2 sides, for only $13.95. You won't find a better deal, and it's amazing. I want to thank Captain John Fagen of Gulf Offshore Charters for an amazing trip. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.